All right, hi everyone. Dr. Vernita Glenn White here. I go by Dr. V, and I am your certified and credentialed life changer. I am a transformational coach, trainer, consultant, speaker, author, all of those things. And I help career professionals and aspiring entrepreneurs help them to live their best life, put their systems in order, both personally and professionally, and help them create a dynamic, kick a life plan to live the life that they deserve and then that they desire so that they can continue to lead the people and serve the people that they love the most. So, welcome to another episode of the Brilliant Professor-ish, and where I talk about practical life lesson things as it relates to coaching and all of those things like that. I was going to start a new kind of angle, but something happened today that I want to talk about. This has been a long weekend. I'm going to tell you the dates, even though they may come out later. Today is April 23rd. It's Sunday. It is after 11 o'clock, 11:08 p.m. And I wasn't going to do anything. I was like, okay, I think I have enough for this month. But when something is pressing on my mind and my heart, it's like, this is not for you. This is for someone else. Now, this is me getting my Oprah on a little bit because Oprah says that I think she said she never paid for therapy or attended therapy a day in her life because her talk show was her therapy. And I never really understood that until I started doing my own video journals. I shared that with you all in a previous episode. Not the journals, but the fact that I started recording myself, and then I made the suggestion that I think you should record your journey as well, even if you never show it to anyone. It's just something about being able to talk it out. And I believe that you can coach yourself in certain situations so you can get to a point to where when you get to a coach, you can actually keep the momentum going. All right. So that was just a little tangent and why I decided to do this episode this late after this long weekend that I had. So, backstory, I have this incredible opportunity. So, you may be getting two life principles in one. I've gotten this incredible opportunity to work behind the scenes and serve on the team with Lisa Nichols. If you don't know who she is, she was in The Secret. She is like one of the best speakers. Like, people would say motivational speakers, but she's technically not a motivational speaker if you look at her and an Eric Thomas. Like, I think an Eric Thomas is a motivational speaker. She's I would say a transformational speaker, and she's also a coach, and I am a Lisa Nichols certified trainer. But just because I'm a trainer doesn't mean everyone doesn't get the opportunity to support her team. And behind the scenes at her events, she's been doing a lot of virtual events. And so I've been able to support on that team as an advocate, kind of semi coach to people, but more recently in the space of sales. So I have received a lot of sales training, which has really helped because I've talked to you all about my money mindset coach that I have. So being able to be a part of a team that can easily close almost $1 million in a weekend, that is phenomenal. Being able to talk someone through and leaving them in choice of, hey, this program is $30,000. So let's walk you through that. How would you like to either invest in yourself, move forward, or let's talk through why you are not moving forward, or is this the best path for you? There's a lot that goes behind it. And then so when people see what my prices are and they're like, oh my gosh, how are you able to do that? Well, one thing I heard Rich Litvin say is like, well, I like nice things and I invest in high quality things. So if I do that externally, why wouldn't I see what I do as a product, a high quality product? So I know the value that I provide. So there it is. But what really gave me the certainty to do that was, one, my money mindset work. and two, being able to support and serve for someone else at a higher level. Because then it got to a point where if I can roll out, hey, yeah, it's going to cost you 6 grand to come do this, or it's going to cost you $13,000 to go to this retreat. Oh, you want to work in this program? This is about $30,000. To easily say that for someone else, how in the world can I not do that for myself? And then I've also invested with commas at a higher rate to make sure that I'm in integrity. So I've been doing that all this weekend at her event, and I took another role. Like, I'm always a student. I think the second day I was sitting there and I was like, okay, I've been having some blocks. What is it? I sat there as a student, and then I transitioned back into the role of a co-lead on certain situations where they needed me, helping a team with enrollment and being part of the sales team and looking at the structure. I love systems and frameworks like that. So to be able to do that as she up levels Lisa, then for me to be a part of that journey. So it was almost like, do you want to get back on your computer? Your computer has been running. I have two of them. They've both been running probably 72 hours straight, but it was a great time for me. So, why did I get on here to talk? There was a conversation that was had, and I'm pretty low key on certain things. If people know me, I've learned to not to dim my light or check the temperature. Maybe I started doing that a little bit. Like, I know who I am. I've worked through a lot of things, but then this was a way for me, like, you shouldn't check the temperature of the room. Whatever you're set on, that's what you enter the room on, But then a part of me knows that I have a takeover spirit to where, excuse me, if I know that something can be done better, and then you allow me the space to say that, then I'm going to say it. And it's because I want things to be better, or not even just better. It's like, this is what I see. I've learned to say that. This is what I see. You ask for my opinion. This is what I see. And then me not be attached to it. I used to be attached to, well, you ask for my advice and you don't want to take it, blah, blah, blah. No. But me being in my, standing in my power and my light means that I speak up and say what I need to say, especially if I'm invited to say it. And then there are times where I don't say anything at all. And it's not because I don't think I'm valued or heard. It's like, you have one time to like really shut me down. And then I see that this is not really where I want to give my energy, and I just chill. And that's a fine line, because it's like, well, is it a pouting? Well, you didn't want to hear my opinion, so I'm just going to be quiet. But then it's like, no, sometimes you just know where, you just know, right? It's like, no, I'm just not worth my energy. I'll just be here. And I hope I'm not telling too much. So there's a situation, like, I'm able to serve different coaches in different spaces, and I do that, one, as I learn how to operate in team. I don't want to just collaborate with people anymore. I actually want to have employees, team, volunteer, community. And there's so much that goes behind all of that. And it's like, I can't be having these mogul dreams and still trying to think that I'm this solo person. So, me just looking at how things can work and really embody and embrace and see, this is what a team does. So, I'll just break it down because I'm trying to skate around this example. I don't know if I said this way, way back in the day, but me and my ABF back in the day, he was my academic best friend. We used to talk about being academic rock stars. And honestly, I think that's a version of his company too. But we were like, why don't we have these mixtapes and and these concerts? And it was like, well, honestly, our mixtapes were back then when I was a professor writing our articles, and our uh not demos, singles were the conferences we were attending, and then our albums would be like a book or a system, like our consulting gigs, because we were able to like travel around, and we just had it all figured out. And then so I've always had this vision of, how can I blend what I'm doing teaching with the entertainment space. And I always loved like Beyonce, not just like just her music, but ever since I saw her documentary and how she is with her work ethic and the team and what she wants and things like that. I always thought that was so cool. And then I happened a few years later, I mean, a few years ago, I saw Marie Forleo did this whole thing with her book tour. I probably did a video on that. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is what I want to do." I something about productions and comedians really stand out for me, especially like when Kevin Hart would have like the fire and stuff on stage. And I'm like, he's only a comedian, he's only talking, but it's still a production. He's not a musician. That's what I'm saying. So, but then being behind the scenes, and I'm making a point, so stay with me, being behind the scenes of an event. So you can think even like, because they're all similar, like Tony Robbins, who's having something out, or Marie Forleo. I think at this point, Matthew McConaughey has been putting things out at the time of recording his event. And it's actually tomorrow, which I signed up for because I'm curious. I want to see what that's like. And he's making this transition. I love when people transfer their skills. So it's always good to see it, but to be literally behind the scenes an event company that treats Lisa like, like she's the talent, which she is, and then to see what happens behind the scenes to make that happen. I mean, from AV team all the way down to tech check. It has been phenomenal. And I've been doing that for a few years, but this is the first time that it's been a different approach. So anyway, I said all that to say is I showed up in this space not as a takeover, but it motivated me. It's something that I want to incorporate. I wanted to learn more, and when I do, I get super excited. And then it so happened that one of the leaders of the sales team had to do something else on site. So we were virtual, and I was selected to, hey, can you help out the other lead? So then I became co-lead. Okay, but because I studied the trainings and their new system, I was like geeked out, geeked up about it. So when our team would have issues, I was able to just maneuver quickly and support them, and I was in my zone. Okay. Now, in other spaces where I serve, I am more reserved because one, I'm like, yeah, this really isn't my jam. I can give feedback, I can coach, but some of these other things are just not me. So I just be quiet. And there was an incident where I tried to speak up because, hello, I have a whole bunch of education experience, which a lot of you do not in that capacity. And when you treat me like my opinion didn't matter, it was fine. I was like, well, you all been doing this, keep doing you. I'll just be quiet because I can save my energy. And that's how I took it. So I said all that to say is the team they were giving me like praises. And I really appreciate that because a lot of them haven't seen me in this element. I'm in our other groups, I'm just laid back. I don't say much. Sometimes I don't go to all the meetings. I was like, I'll show up when necessary, or I'll, do my part behind the scenes. But in this one, I don't stand out. And I'm cool with that. Okay. I was like, I know how to stand out if I need to. So a lot of them got to see me in a different light. And it was just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And I really felt that. And I was like, oh, you're welcome. This is who I am. Nice to meet you. Kind of thing. So then there was someone who came in. They really weren't fully with us the whole weekend, but they were on the team, and they came in at the tail end as we were closing and seeing everyone giving me my flowers, which I gladly received. When people start giving you praises and saying thank you, don't deflect. Don't say, oh, it was no big deal. Accept all of that because you gave them value. And I think when we start seeing understanding the value that we provide to people, you know what? Your energy and your presence is a gift to people, and not in an arrogant way, but when you show up as who you are, you've been created with certain things that are inside of you that you're supposed to give to other people. That's why you have gifts, you give them away. And when you show up as your true self, it just naturally comes out and it brightens people's day. And I'm not just saying that because of what happened to me, but I've, when people have shown up, their smile, their energy, their questions, or them doing something I appreciate. Thank you. Right. So anyway, so the person came in on the tail end and I received a message. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, Dr. B, thank you. Thank you for your support. Oh my gosh, And the person was like, they private messaged me like, "What do you do to these people?" You might think that is an innocent comment. If it was, I wouldn't be up here at 11:23 p.m. talking to you. So me being in this personal development transformational work, I'm like, what is underneath this feeling? Then my mind goes to other incidents. This wasn't the first time. This wasn't the second time. This wasn't the third time. And then we had another incident on something else. I won't get into it, but that bothered me. And I was like, let me add someone else because I could be overly sensitive. And they were like, no, however you took that, I would take it that way too. Okay, thank you. So in this case, I did the same thing. I was like, is it me? And sometimes we have to do that, because sometimes we can be overly sensitive. It's like, no, chill out. You dealing with your own stuff. But then there are times like, no, this person came for me. I didn't send for them. And I know we say, well, I don't care about what people think. That's not always true. So I was like, well, what is it? And I was like, well, I just be me. They got a chance to experience who I was, and they haven't seen that side of me. And they were like, well, we need you to show up in this space over here. And I was like, no, because there are too many leaders over there. And I show up in other areas. I'm still new in that area, quote unquote, new. And no. And they were just kind of like, okay. In other words, they weren't trying to hear what I had to say on that. But it was the comment of, what do you do to these people? And it was a caps do. And again, if this was just like the first time, it probably wouldn't have bothered me. But it's someone that I've actually, encountered. It's not a stranger that said it. And I know people be getting mad at the internet thugs, but it's not that. It's when people that are close to you who've seen you in certain situations. And it's like, why are you amazed that people are amazed by what I do and who I am? And it was like, what do you do to these people? Show up and be me. And some people may think that is arrogant, but it is, if you experienced it, you would know what I'm talking about. It's like, but why does that bother you? Why do you have to wonder about that? And why is that always on your mind when I get praise from other people? I know they say what other people think about you is none of your business. But then there's another part of me. It's like a lot of times what we get that comes back to us, because life is a mirror. And I'm not going to get too much in detail about that because I know people can take that completely left, but life is a mirror, and what you're projecting is what you get back. I was like, well, what is it? Is there an insecurity in me somewhere? Or even though I think that I haven't dimmed my light and I'm standing in my power, one, am I firm in my power always, even though I don't dim it, but have I turned it all the way up? Because that's how we have to think about things. Because I know me, like, let's be real. If you don't have a coach or a leader that talks about some of their struggles, you might want to run. So I'm not saying, bleed on the stage or air out all of your dirty laundry, but I process in real time. So I want to talk you all through, just in case you're not able to do the $15,000 sessions. I'm not, my sessions are $15,000, but in case you're like, I want to invest in a coach, but just right now, maybe all you have are YouTube videos. And that's what some people said at the event. It was like, I watched your videos until I was able to get to a point where I could invest into a program or a retreat or something like that. And I want to be able to leave those nuggets with people as well. So sometimes it's like, okay, one, is there an insecurity about yourself that you haven't dealt with? Be honest and courageous and ask yourself, find that truth. I did a whole series, I think it's still up under my live videos, about 5 steps you can take. I did lives. It should be 10 videos over there because I did an AM class and a PM class. And if you know it's not an insecurity, and just check in with your body will tell you the truth. Then it's like, okay, it's not an insecurity, but what am I not doing, kind of in a positive way? So just like I said, do I think I stand in my power? Yes. Am I solid always? Maybe not. Okay, check. Did I dim my light? I didn't dim it. Okay, that's good. You didn't shrink, because there was a time where when people would say Dr. V, I would cringe a little bit, but now I'm like, you're right. That's who I am. I mean, not like who I am, like it defines me, but I worked for that. So doggone it, you're right. So I was like, okay, but have I turned it all the way up? So I have a choice when I go back into the other group. Do I really, really show up, or do I still stay in choice and say, nope, I just choose not to show up here and I show up more powerfully in other places? I'm okay with that. So you see what I'm doing? Like, you check in with your body. And if you truly wanted to show up in that space, or if I truly wanted to show up in that space and I'm not, I'm dimming my light. I'm not standing in my full power. Because if I wanted to show up, then that means I would do more over there. But if I'm really good with, no, I am clear that I am good right here, then it's an energy thing, I think, for me. Just keep my energy high. And I'm not talking about the actual, like, all right, let's go. I'm not talking about that, but the vibe, the aura that's around me, that turn that internal light up. Because when you do, it'll exude outside. So I wanted to talk through that because it did bother me. And instead of being upset with that person, I do believe that God places people in our lives, even if it's just for an instant, as a reminder to check yourself. And checking yourself is not always in the negative space. Checking yourself means, hey, I need you to go up a little higher. Hey, turn that dial up. Hey, you're not standing in your power enough. You're not standing tall enough. Hey, straighten up. People who see me, they used to talk about my posture, and I just remember, like, my mom and grandmother just tap, like, hey, sit up in that chair. So it's kind of one of those, like, you were slouching, sit up. So I'm going to take that incident as it was a little slouch. So I need to stand up a little bit. So I want to invite you to do that as well, because you get to choose. You get to choose how you respond. That's something we discussed at this event, and maybe I can do a class on that. E plus R equals O. The event plus your response equals the outcome, and we usually go to event from outcome to outcome. So the event happened, the person said what they said, and then the outcome, I started feeling a certain type of way. Now, the event was real and how I felt is real, but now I'm going to choose how I respond to that. Can I let it just linger in my head? Like, well, what do you mean by that? Am I not good enough? Do I need to do more over there? Because then if I start doing that, then that means you run me. Don't nobody run me but me. But if I'm going to start acting a certain way because you said something making me feel like I'm supposed to be inadequate, and if you think that's going to cause me to step up more when I have no desire, and hear me, I'm not saying that I don't do what I'm supposed to do, but it's just like, if it's not your zone, chill out. You don't have to be the spotlight in everything. And I learned, hey, chill. Just because you know something doesn't mean you always have to say it. Right? And that's kind of the position that I've taken in this other group. Like, could y'all do things a lot differently? Yes. But what you're doing is nothing wrong with what you're doing. You're getting results. So why do I don't feel the need anyway. So now I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to allow that, but I will take on, meaning that bothered me a little bit. It only bothered me because I can go brighter. So you see how I chose how I'm going to respond now to what happened. And even though I felt that way for the outcome in that moment, because I can't change that because that's how I felt, but now I don't have to let it linger because I changed how I'm responding to what happened. And like I said, I'll take a deeper dive on that. So then, me being the fixer, and I was like, well, what's going on in that person's life to where they have to say this every single time, people are giving me praise? That's where it's none of my business. And I now see that I needed to process this because, one, if I'm able to recall every single time this has happened, then I didn't interrupt the pattern way back. But it's okay. That's why, we continue to go on this journey. So I've said so 1,000 times. I'm going to end that right here. I wanted to come on and encourage someone. If you're in a transition of life, career, whatever, you need to put yourself in the energy, in the space to learn what you can, and not just intellect, not just book knowledge, not just video knowledge. You need to experience it. And I realized that I've taken these opportunities for granted because I don't know if I told you all any previous videos, but I am very good at getting into certain rooms and getting in the line of sight of the leader or the most important person in the room, the high level person. But my mom was like that. And not that, and it could look like an opportunist, but it's not. But just kind of think about it that way. But don't call me an opportunist. But maybe I am. I've always done that, and I didn't understand that pattern until recently, or I didn't connect it. It's like you always are able to get into the room and go straight to the front of the line. But my struggle has been, oh, it's cool just to be in the room, but now it's like you need to learn how to leverage that. So having this opportunity to be this close with Lisa Nichols, it's kind of like, well, I just want to be here, and it's like, no, what are you really gaining from this opportunity? And that's where it clicked for this weekend for me to say, whoa, this is giving me not just be a coach and not just get the techniques, but to have a true, like, to be a businesswoman, to be in the mix. So put yourself in any environment that you can. And I'm telling you, this is volunteer. I don't get paid for that. And you got to let ego go if you think you need to get paid for everything. Think of it as an internship. Yes, I know we're grown. I know you got 50 degrees. I know you've written all the things. I know that you've gotten this particular title at this large corporation. But if it's something that in a new realm, don't try to figure it out by yourself. If you're not able, this is the secret. If you're not able to fully get a coach, like a business coach, or a voice, whatever it is, get into where you can fit in. And if that's volunteering, do that and understand how to leverage, even if it's not with that person or just to say their name, but learn how to leverage your opportunities. Don't waste your opportunities. The other thing, take some time to learn your zone of genius and your zone of excellence in your new space. And then once you do that, own it and be okay with it so that way you can choose and decide when you want to operate in either. Working with our sales team and this system, that was a genius zone of mine. Working with the other group, and I'm careful not to name like what it is, that's a zone of excellence. And I'm cool with that. You get to decide where you want to share your genius. And that doesn't make you less of a person or arrogant or any of those things. And remember to invest in yourself monetarily as well. If you want money from people, you invest so you can stand in integrity. Okay, I think that's all I want to say. Now I'm getting sleepy. It is late. I just want to share that with you all. I may break everything down. Well, not like everything. I'm not going to recap the entire event. I told you it felt like 72 hours. But I do want to share some of those things with you all. I took notes and I've gone. I mean, you all let me know which side you want to hear because, I was like, I give a lot of information. I don't even know if I ask you all what you want to hear about. So the moral of the story is check in with yourself. Always keep your light on. Don't carry other people's problems or don't try to figure out why other people may have a problem with you. And I'm going to call it a problem because, again, this wasn't the first time. This wasn't the third time. It's been a pattern. And don't always go to the negative. Like, well, what is it? Am I not doing enough? Why did they say that? Nope. Just take it as a tap to straighten up your back and go even brighter. I think a lot of times we tend to shrink, but no, once you flip it in your head, then anytime someone comes at you that way, you're like, oh, that's just my opportunity to go brighter. You're welcome. All right, for real, I'm going to end it. Thank you so much for listening and learning with me. And remember, the world needs you to be well, to be empowered, to be bold, and most importantly, to be brilliant. Until next time, bye.